Some people decided to rebuild the legendary Titanic, but strange events soon began happening aboard the ship. The story begins in 1912 when the original Titanic was sinking. A young woman named Elizabeth managed to escape the doomed ship and repeatedly called out for her fiancé Charles, but received no answer. The crew forced her into a lifeboat that was being lowered into the freezing water. However, the cable holding the lifeboat suddenly snapped, causing it to flip over. Everyone was thrown into the icy ocean. Elizabeth managed to climb onto the overturned lifeboat when she suddenly heard Charles calling her from a nearby iceberg. Charles jumped into the freezing water to save her. As Elizabeth searched the dark waves for Charles, a corpse-like figure suddenly emerged from the sea and dragged her underwater. 110 years after the original Titanic sank, a new ship called Titanic III began its maiden voyage, following the exact route of the original vessel. A man arrived at the dock with his partner and admired the massive ship through the car window. He told his companion to put away the phone and take a proper look at the incredible ship. The moment the girl looked up, she became excited and began praising Titanic III while recording everything. They were both famous bloggers, and as soon as they stepped out of the car, their fans gathered around them. After taking photos with their followers, they recorded an exciting video and then boarded the ship. Next, Captain Rose of Titanic III briefed her crew about a soldier named Brian Andrews. Brian and his security team would remain on duty throughout the voyage to protect the ship. Many priceless artifacts recovered from the original Titanic were being displayed on board, making extra security necessary. Meanwhile, a mysterious young woman climbed out of a large bag. She quietly wandered through the lower decks of the ship. A short time later, she stole a crew uniform from a storage room. Disguised as a crew member, she entered the ship's museum section. Inside a display cabinet was an old violin. The girl carefully picked it up. Just then, a man rushed in and angrily ordered her to put it back immediately. He explained that it was the most valuable artifact in the collection. The violin had been recovered from the wreck of the original Titanic after spending more than a century beneath the sea. He refused to let anyone damage such a priceless piece. Julia stepped in and asked the mysterious girl to leave. At that moment, the girl noticed a gold coin and an old gold hairpin on display. She quietly said that her grandmother had owned a similar hairpin. She believed that the belongings of those who died on the Titanic should never have been removed. According to ancient beliefs, the possessions of the dead should remain with them, and anyone who disturbed them would be cursed. The man had grown tired of listening to her. He asked Julia who the girl was and why she was saying such strange things. Julia admitted that she had no idea who she was. Since so many people worked on the ship, it was impossible to recognize everyone. She quickly told the girl to leave. While Julia and the man were distracted, the mysterious girl secretly stole the gold coin and the hairpin. She returned to the lower deck and began performing a dark ritual. She took out a photograph of the captain of the original Titanic and called upon the spirits to rise. At the same time, the passengers were happily dancing in the ship's grand ballroom. Mia and Jackson continued filming different areas of the ship for their audience. Eventually, they reached the lower deck and discovered the mysterious girl performing the strange ritual. They couldn't understand what she was doing. As the ritual became more intense, they grew frightened and decided to leave. Suddenly, the door behind them slammed open. Startled, they quickly turned around. It was their fan, Nancy, who had found them after watching their live stream. Despite all the noise, the mysterious girl remained completely focused on her ritual. Suddenly, the walls of the ship began shaking as if responding to her power. At the same moment, the blogger's cameras shut down by themselves. Witnessing the terrifying scene, Jackson said they needed to get out of there immediately. Mia, Nancy, and Jackson quickly left the area. In the captain's cabin, the lights began flickering. The captain's video call with his fiancée was suddenly disconnected. He soon realized that the ship had completely lost contact with the outside world. Meanwhile, Mia, Nancy, and Jackson walked through one of the ship's corridors. Nancy told them she had been following their content for years. Jackson accidentally bumped into a man named Hal once again. Hal called him careless. Then he looked at Mia and smiled for no apparent reason. Nancy confronted Hal and asked if he even knew who Mia was. She proudly said that Mia had 12 million subscribers. An annoyed Mia replied that she didn't need anyone's attention. Jackson stepped in and told Hal to leave. Meanwhile, the mysterious girl continued her dark ritual. Moments later, her spell was finally complete. It was revealed that the captain of the previous ship was her grandfather, and later, her great-grandfather, Captain Edward Smith of the original Titanic, appeared before her. Meanwhile, Mia and Jackson went out onto the deck to record another video. Suddenly, Mia heard the sound of a beautiful violin. A ghostly man stood behind her, playing the violin. His music was so mesmerizing that Mia and Jackson began dancing together. Then something strange happened. The power throughout Titanic III suddenly went out. Still under the spell of the music, Mia continued dancing with Jackson. Without warning, the sweet melody turned into a horrifying screech that pierced everyone's ears. Mia clutched her head and screamed, unable to understand what was happening. Jackson was equally confused and didn't know what to do. The ghostly violinist slowly moved closer to Mia. She covered her ears in terror, wondering why the unbearable sound wouldn't stop. At the same time, a thick fog surrounded Jackson, and the ghost dragged him away. As soon as the sound disappeared, the captain's assistant ordered the the crew to inspect the ship's systems. After recovering, Mia desperately searched for Jackson, but he had vanished. A short time later, Hal approached her and tried to calm her down. He suggested that they meet later at the bar. Mia agreed. Then she remembered that she had left her phone behind. While she went back to retrieve it, Hal walked away. Mia decided to tell someone about the terrifying noise she had heard. Suddenly, the ghostly violinist appeared before her once again. With a horrifying scream, the ghost rushed toward Mia and killed her. A short time later, security guards discovered Mia's body. The head of security informed Captain Rose, who was in the ballroom. He escorted her to the control room, where the captain was already confused by the ship's strange behavior. She ordered the crew to shut down the system and restart it. Brian soon arrived and urgently asked Captain Rose to follow him. They reached the deck where Mia's body was lying. Rose asked where Jackson was and instructed Brian to check Mia's livestream, hoping it might reveal what had happened. Moments later, Hector arrived and ordered the guards to clear the area immediately. Rose picked up Mia's phone and instructed Hector to find out who she had contacted last. Meanwhile, she returned to the control room to try contacting the Coast Guard. Elsewhere, an engineer was attempting to repair the ship's systems. Suddenly, he heard a strange noise. When he turned around, he saw a terrifying ghost approaching him. Frightened, he tried to escape. Before he could get away, another ghost appeared in front of him. Using supernatural force, the ghost slammed a section of pipe into his head, killing him instantly. Meanwhile, Hector, Brian, and several guards reviewed the footage from Mia's camera. Rose joined them and said she hadn't found anything unusual elsewhere. They played the final recording from Mia's phone. In the footage, Jackson suddenly disappeared into a cloud of thick smoke. Then Hal appeared and briefly spoke with Mia. After Hal left, Mia picked up her phone with a terrified expression. The recording ended just before her death. Captain Rose suspected that Hal might know more than he was saying. She decided to bring him in for questioning. At that moment, Hal was in the ballroom talking with Julie. Rose and Brian approached him and asked him to come with them to a private room. Once there, Rose informed him that Mia had been found dead and Jackson was missing. She explained that Hal was the last known person to see Mia alive. The security footage also showed that Hal had several encounters with Jackson. Hal defended himself, saying, "I admit I lose my temper sometimes, but that doesn't mean I go around killing people." Meanwhile, the mysterious girl performed another dark ritual. Suddenly, the ship's engines started running by themselves. As soon as Captain Rose realized the ship was moving, she rushed toward the control room. She looked outside and confirmed that Titanic III was moving on its own. She tried contacting Parker over the radio, but no signal could be transmitted. Back in the control room, Rose demanded to know who was operating the ship. Her assistant explained that every control had been locked. They had already restarted the system as she ordered, but nothing had changed. It seemed that an unknown force had taken control of the engines. The ship was now heading toward the same iceberg that had destroyed the original Titanic. Captain Rose ordered everyone to find the cause immediately. She wanted the ship stopped and turned around before it was too late. Brian met her on the deck, and together they headed toward the engine room. As they left, Julie and Mrs. Trost stepped onto the deck. While Mrs. Trost was alone, a woman approached her and complimented the necklace around her neck. Mrs. Trost thanked her politely. However, when the woman turned around, she revealed herself to be a ghost. The ghost used the same necklace to strangle Mrs. Trost. The necklace had once belonged to the ghost herself. These were the restless spirits of the passengers who had died aboard the original Titanic. Meanwhile, in the engine room, Captain Rose searched for the source of the malfunction. Suddenly, the dead engineer's body appeared right in front of her. Panicked, Captain Rose tried to contact Parker again, but the radio still wouldn't work. She couldn't understand what was happening. Every communication signal had been completely blocked. Rose realized they had to shut down the engine immediately, or it would explode. However, the entire system was frozen, and none of the controls responded. Brian noticed that the engine could no longer handle the pressure, and was on the verge of exploding. He warned Rose that they had to leave at once. Sensing the danger, Brian quickly picked Rose up and carried her out of the engine room. The moment the door closed behind them, a massive explosion erupted. The blast shook the entire ship. Passengers dancing in the ballroom were thrown to the floor by the powerful shockwave. The sudden explosion filled everyone with fear. Rose urged the passengers to remain calm, assuring them that the situation was under control. Meanwhile, the crew in the control room was completely confused. No one could understand what was happening. The ship continued sailing directly toward an iceberg. Elsewhere, Hector monitored the engine room while a ghost silently watched him from the shadows. Hector continued trying to contact nearby ships. The passengers were informed that there was no need to panic. They were instructed to remain inside their cabins. The crew explained that the Coast Guard had already been contacted. The captain assured everyone that help was on the way. Tuck explained the emergency and requested immediate assistance. However, they soon learned that the nearest ship was still 2 hours away. Everyone aboard Titanic III became increasingly desperate. Meanwhile, the ceiling in the room where Hal was being held began leaking. The lights started flickering. Terrifying noises echoed throughout the room. Frightened, Hal covered his ears and shouted for the noise to stop. Suddenly, everything went silent. A ghost then appeared right in front of him. Terrified, Hal backed into a corner and begged the spirit to stay away. Instead, the ghost used its supernatural power to pin his hands to the bed and breathed icy air onto him. At that moment, Nancy entered the control room and asked to speak with Captain Rose. She insisted that she had important information. After Rose agreed to hear her out, Nancy revealed that a ghost had killed Mia. To prove it, she showed the captain the final video recorded on Mia's phone. Rose refused to believe the story. She insisted that there were no ghosts on the ship. She ordered Brian to escort Nancy back to her cabin. Nancy's cabin was located near the room where Hal was being held. When Brian entered the room, he found Hal lying on the floor in a state of panic. Hal kept warning everyone to stay away. Brian helped him regain consciousness and escorted him to Captain Rose. Hal told the captain that he had witnessed something impossible. He admitted he didn't know what it was, but it felt as though death itself had come for him. Hal begged the captain to turn the ship back toward New York immediately. He warned that the ghosts of the original Titanic would kill everyone on board. Just then, a security guard arrived with troubling news. He reported that their security chief, Hector, had disappeared. Rose ignored Hal's warning and ordered Brian to lock him back in his room because she believed he was speaking irrationally. She then instructed the guards to begin searching for Hector. As they left, Rose continued trying to contact Hector over the radio. While the guards escorted Hal back, they encountered the mysterious young woman. Hal immediately recognized her. He accused her of being responsible for everything happening on the ship. He recalled that she had spoken about curses, buried treasure, and the belongings of the dead. The girl denied killing anyone. However, she claimed that she knew exactly what was happening. She said people simply weren't ready to accept the truth. Pointing toward Hal, she declared that it was all his fault. She explained that he had gone thousands of feet beneath the sea and taken belongings from the dead. Now the spirits had returned to reclaim what belonged to them. She warned that the ship was cursed. According to her, no one on board would survive. Panicking, Hal asked if there was any way to stop the curse. The girl quietly replied that it was already too late. Brian locked the mysterious girl inside a room. Even after the door closed, she continued screaming that everyone was going to die. Moments later, the door slowly opened by itself. The ghost of Captain Edward Smith appeared. Brian fired his gun at the ghost. The bullet passed straight through the spirit and struck one of his fellow guards instead. At that very moment, the ship lost all electrical power. Captain Rose instructed everyone to turn on their phone flashlights and continue working on the controls. Suddenly, she noticed a shadow standing near the wall. She told everyone to shine their lights in that direction. When they did, no one was there. Rose assumed she had imagined it and urged the crew to restore the system as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, the ghost of Captain Edward Smith transferred part of his supernatural power to his great-granddaughter. Brian watched in horror but was powerless to stop it. Once the ritual was complete, the mysterious girl turned around and knocked Brian unconscious. She then calmly walked out of the room. Still terrified, Hal returned to his cabin. He decided to throw away everything he had recovered from the ocean. Trying to calm himself, he went into the bathroom to wash his face. As he looked up, he suddenly saw Mia's ghost staring back at him. Meanwhile, Brian slowly regained consciousness and discovered that his partner was still alive. He told his partner to stay where she was while he went to get help. However, the guard ignored his warning and followed him. The moment he stepped into the corridor, a ghost attacked and killed him. Meanwhile, the mysterious girl reached the control room. Using her supernatural power, she threw Parker aside. Rose tried to stop her, but the instant Rose looked into the girl's eyes, she witnessed the ghost of the original captain. The vision left her frozen. The mysterious girl then pushed Rose aside and steered Titanic III toward the very same iceberg that had destroyed the original Titanic. Rose begged her to stop, warning that everyone on board would die. She asked what she hoped to gain from this, but the spirit possessing the girl had completely taken over her mind. The crew desperately tried to regain control of the ship, but nothing worked. As one final attempt, Rose warned the girl that she would also die if the ship crashed. The girl simply smiled and replied that it didn't matter anymore. Moments later, Titanic III slammed into the iceberg at full speed. Julie tried to calm the terrified passengers and directed them toward the assembly area. Rose desperately attempted to contact the outside world, but there was still no response. Just then, Hal arrived and claimed he finally understood what was happening. He said the only way to stop the curse was to return every artifact taken from the original Titanic back to the sea. Rose refused to listen. She told him that if he truly wanted to help, he should assist the passengers into the lifeboats instead of talking about curses. The ship began sinking rapidly. Panic spread throughout the vessel. Even in the chaos, Brian managed to collect one of the artifacts that had been recovered from the original Titanic. Before he could escape, Mia's ghost appeared in front of him. She used his own gun against him and killed him. The ship was now more than halfway underwater. Passengers ran through the flooding halls in terror. Water rushed into the corridors as chaos spread across the ship. Julie searched the ballroom for Brian. Instead, she encountered his ghost. His spirit caused a lifeboat to fall onto Julie. Despite everything, Hal gathered his courage and continued helping the survivors. As the lifeboats were being lowered, every rope suddenly snapped. The boats crashed into the freezing water, repeating the same tragedy as the original Titanic. Like a true captain, Rose remained aboard the ship until the very end. Eventually, Titanic III disappeared beneath the ocean. Hal lay trembling inside a lifeboat. Suddenly, he heard someone calling his name. It was Captain Rose. She pulled him into a lifeboat. As he lay there, Hal suddenly began laughing uncontrollably. He kept repeating that he had disturbed the belongings of the dead. He said the spirits had taken revenge and killed everyone except him. Rose tried to calm him. She reminded him that he had saved many lives and told him to forget everything that had happened. Suddenly, Hal felt completely silent. When Rose turned toward him, she realized he had died. A few moments later, Hal's Rachel's ghost appeared and killed Rose as well. If the Titanic were ever rebuilt in real life, would you dare to sail on it? Let us know your answer in the comments. See you in the next video. And with that, our story comes to an end. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this explanation. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.